The council chamber was dying, not physically but in every way that mattered. Admiral Highrim could see it in the faces around the circular table. Fear had replaced dignity. Panic had replaced wisdom. Counselor Vrenth stood at the center podium, his feathers trembling. The Tellurian looked nothing like the proud ambassador who had first contacted Earth 20 years ago. His wings drooped. His voice cracked. "Another fleet is gone," Vrenth said. "The 4th defense line collapsed 6 hours ago. We lost 2,000 ships. 2,000. He paused, his beak opening and closing silently. They didn't even slow down. Highrim sat in the human section, her hands folded on the table. She wore her military uniform, crisp and dark blue. Her expression never changed as she listened. High Chancellor Kixtal clicked his mandibles together. The insectoid leader's compound eyes reflected the holographic display showing the galaxy. Red zones covered nearly half the map. Red meant conquered. Red meant dead. How long? Someone asked from across the chamber. 3 months, Kixtal answered. Maybe 4. The Devourers will reach the core systems by then. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Representatives from 40 different species sat frozen in their seats. Some prayed. Others simply stared at nothing. Hirim had seen this before. Not on this scale, but she had seen it. She had watched soldiers realize they were going to lose. She had watched cities prepare for invasion. The look was always the same. Vrenth turned to face her directly. "Admiral Hirim, humanity has remained neutral in this conflict. You have watched us die for 18 months, watched us beg for your help." His voice grew stronger, almost angry. "Will you continue to watch? Or will you finally honor the alliance we made when we welcomed you to the stars?" Other counselors shifted uncomfortably. It was true. Humanity had sent medical ships and supplies. They had offered safe harbor to refugees. But they had sent no warships. No soldiers. Nothing that could actually fight. Hirim stood slowly. She was not tall compared to most species in the chamber, but something about her presence made everyone turn to look. "We have been watching," she said simply. Her voice carried clearly in the silent room. "We have been studying your enemy, learning how they fight. Understanding why you keep losing? Then you know we need help." Vrenth's wings spread wide. "Your species builds warships. We have seen your military capabilities. You could turn the tide." "Could we?" Hiram walked toward the center display. She touched a control and the map zoomed in on recent battle sites. "You have better shields than us. Your energy weapons are more powerful than anything we can build. Your ships are faster, bigger, more advanced in every measurable way." She looked around the chamber. "Yet you lose." Every single time, Kixtal's mandibles clicked rapidly. The Devourers adapt. Whatever we use against them, they counter. They learn from every battle. They cannot be surprised. "Everything can be surprised," Hirim said quietly. Hope flickered in Vrenth's eyes. "Then you will help? Humanity will send its fleet?" Hirim touched another control. A new image appeared. A single ship floating in space. It looked blocky and crude compared to the sleek alien vessels. No elegant curves. No glowing energy fields. "Just gray metal and weapon ports. We will send you this," Hirim said. The chamber erupted. Voices overlapped in a dozen languages. Anger and disbelief filled the air. "One ship?" A reptilian counselor rose from his seat. "You mock us with one ship? We are dying." Another voice shouted. "Our children are being slaughtered. And you offer one ship?" Vrenth's feathers had gone flat against his body. "Hirim, please, I thought you understood. I thought humans valued honor." "We do," Hirim said calmly, waiting for the noise to die down. "Which is why we will not throw away our fleet on a losing strategy." "Losing?" Kixtal stood now, his full height making him tower over the human admiral. "You call our defense of the galaxy a losing strategy?" "Yes," Hirim did not flinch. "You fight the same way every time. Your tactics never change. Your formations never vary. You rely on technology to win battles, but technology can be matched, adapted to, beaten." She pointed at the ship on the display. "This is the Indomitable. It will arrive at your rally point in the Krevik system in 3 days. Its captain is Dacian. He is one of our best. One captain. One ship." Vrenth's voice was hollow now. "Against 300 Devourer vessels. Yes. This is an insult," the reptilian counselor hissed. "A cowardly insult." Hirim's eyes hardened. "It is a test. If Captain Dacian fails, you lose nothing you have not already lost 100 times. If he succeeds, you will learn something valuable. And if he succeeds, Kickstal asked. What then? Then we talk about sending the rest of our fleet. But only if our methods work. Only if we prove that your way of fighting is not the only way. Hira moved back to her seat. We will not sacrifice our people for pride or empty gestures. Results matter. Nothing else. The chamber remained tense. Counselors whispered to each other. Some looked outraged. Others looked thoughtful. Vrenth slowly sat down. His feathers remained flat. The Krevik system will fall before your ship even arrives. Then hold, Hiram said. Retreat if you must, but do not engage the Devourers until the Indomitable arrives. You ask us to run? I ask you to survive long enough to see if there is another way. Kickstal's mandibles worked silently for a moment. Then he made a gesture of agreement. Very well. We will wait for your single ship. We will watch your single captain. His compound eyes fixed on Hiram. But if this fails, humanity will bear the responsibility for every life lost while we waited. Understood, Hiram said. The council session ended shortly after. Representatives filed out, their conversations quiet and grim. Vrenth approached Hiram as she prepared to leave. I do not understand you, the Tellurian said softly. Your people. When we first met, you seemed so eager to join us among the stars. So grateful. Now when we need you most, you send one ship. Hiram looked at her old friend. They had negotiated Earth's entry into the galactic community together. They had shared meals and stories. She knew his wife's name. His children's names, Vrenth, she said gently. Do you know how many wars humans have fought? Against each other? Many. Your history is violent. Thousands of wars. Tens of thousands. We have been killing each other since we learned to pick up rocks. She placed a hand on his shoulder. We know war. We know it in ways your peaceful species never had to learn, and we know that sometimes the worst thing you can do is send too many soldiers to die the same way. But one ship with one captain who understands something, your strategists do not. One ship is enough to prove a point, to show a different way. She smiled slightly. Trust me. Trust Dacian. 3 days. Vrenth's feathers slowly lifted. Not to their normal proud position, but enough. 3 days, he repeated. 3 days, Hiram confirmed. She left the chamber and walked through the station corridors. Other species moved around her, going about their business. But she could see the fear in all of them. The shops were closing early. Families were booking passage to the outer rim. Everyone was preparing to run. Hiram reached her private communication room and locked the door. She activated the quantum link to Earth Military Command. Status? She asked. The Indomitable departed on schedule, a voice replied. Captain Dacian confirms he will reach Krevix in 70 hours. And the main fleet? Mobilizing. All 600 ships will be ready to deploy in 2 weeks. Good. Hiram sat down, suddenly feeling tired. Let us hope Dacian is as good as we think he is. He is the best we have, Admiral. If anyone can pull this off, it is him. Let us hope the galaxy agrees. She ended the transmission and stared at the blank screen. 3 days. Everything would change in 3 days. One way or another, she just hoped the galaxy was ready to learn. The Indomitable dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Krevik system. Captain Dacian watched the main display as the ship's sensors came online. What he saw made him take a slow breath. Debris. Everywhere. Thousands of pieces of destroyed ships floated in orbit around the gas giant. Some pieces were as large as buildings. Others were just twisted metal and frozen atmosphere. The remains of the last battle. How many ships did they lose here? Asked Commander Jehoon from beside him. According to the report, about 3,000, Dacian answered. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. In less than 4 hours. Jehoon was young for an executive officer, barely 30. But Dacian had picked him personally. The man could think fast and adapt faster. He would need those skills soon. Sensors show the galactic fleet ahead, Lieutenant Bora called from the weapons station. 240 ships. Various species. They are holding position behind the 4th planet. Take us in. Standard approach. No need to rush. The Indomitable moved forward through the debris field. It was not a large ship by galactic standards. 300 meters long. Blocky and angular. No smooth curves or elegant design. It looked exactly like what it was. A warship built to take damage and keep fighting. As they approached the fleet, Dacian could see the alien vessels clearly. They were beautiful in their way. The Tellurian dreadnoughts looked like massive birds with swept-back wings. The Krellian cruisers shimmered with energy fields. The Vexor destroyers were long and sleek, built for speed. The Indomitable looked like a brick next to them. "Incoming transmission," reported the communications officer. "Fleet Marshal Corvesh wants to speak with you, Captain." "Put him on." The main display switched to show a Krellian officer. Corvesh had 4 arms, gray skin, and eyes that held too much weariness. He looked like someone who had watched too many people die. "Captain Dacian," Corvesh said. His voice was rough through the translator. "So humanity finally arrives. 1 ship, we were told to expect 1 ship. I did not believe it until now. Marshal." Dacian nodded respectfully. "We are here to help." "Help." Corvesh made a sound that might have been laughter. "The Devourers are coming. Our scouts report 300 vessels. 300. And humanity sends 1 ship to help." "Yes, Marshal. Do you understand what you face? These are not raiders or pirates. The Devourers do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They adapt to every weapon, every tactic. They learn faster than we can change." Corvesh leaned forward. "Your ship will last maybe 10 minutes in battle. Then you will die like all the others." Dacian's expression did not change. "Perhaps, Marshal. But we would like to try our way first." "Your way?" Corvesh's eyes narrowed. "We have been fighting for 18 months. We have tried every way. What could humanity possibly know that we do not? Would you like to come aboard and see?" There was a long pause. Then Corvesh nodded slowly. "Very well. I will bring my senior staff. Perhaps we can understand why Admiral Hiram sent only 1 ship." 30 minutes later, Corvesh and 5 other officers materialized in the Indomitable's shuttle bay. Dacian and Jehun were waiting to greet them. The alien officers looked around the bay with barely hidden disdain. Everything was metal and welds. No holograms. No floating displays. Just mechanical systems and manual controls. "This way, Marshal," Dacian said, leading them into the ship. As they walked through the corridors, the alien officers whispered to each other. One pointed at the exposed pipes running along the walls. Another stared at the crew members manually checking systems with handheld tools. They reached the bridge. It was cramped compared to alien command centers. The captain's chair sat in the middle, surrounded by stations where crew members worked at physical controls. Buttons and switches, keyboards and monitors. Everything looked ancient. "Where are your neural interfaces?" asked one of the alien officers, a Tellurian with bright blue feathers. "We do not use them," Jehun answered. "No neural interfaces. But how do you process tactical data? How do your systems communicate?" "The crew communicates," Dacian said. "With words." "With orders." Each person understands their job and does it. Corvesh walked to the tactical station where Bora sat. She was reviewing weapon systems, her fingers moving across a physical keyboard. "What weapons do you carry?" "Railguns," Bora answered without looking up. "Nuclear missiles. Conventional explosives. Kinetic impactors." "Kinetic? You still use kinetic weapons?" The Tellurian officer's feathers ruffled in what might have been disbelief. "Where are your plasma cannons? Your quantum disruptors?" "We do not have them," Dacian said. "What about shields?" "Surely you have energy shields?" "We have armor. Very thick armor." Corvesh turned to face Dacian fully. "Let me understand. You have no advanced weapons, no energy shields, no AI support systems, no neural interfaces." His voice grew harder. "You have a primitive vessel from a species that has barely left its own solar system. And you think this will defeat the Devourers?" "Yes," Dacian said simply. "This is madness. This is suicide." Corvesh gestured at the bridge. "I have lost friends, family. I have watched entire fleets burn. And now humanity mocks us with this relic." "We are not mocking you, Marshal." Dacian's voice remained calm. "We are offering a different approach." "Different? This is not different. This is primitive." "Perhaps," Dacian acknowledged. "But tell me something, Marshal. The Devourers adapt to your weapons, correct? They learn from each battle?" "Yes, it is what makes them unstoppable." "What do they adapt to specifically? What patterns do they learn?" Corvesh crossed his upper arms. "Everything. Energy signatures, weapon frequencies, shield modulations, formation patterns. They record every detail and adjust their tactics. And your AI systems run all your ships, yes? They calculate the best responses. The most efficient patterns, of course. Our AI are the most advanced in the galaxy. They can process millions of calculations per second. Dacian walked to the main display and brought up a schematic of a typical devourer vessel. So your AI fights their AI. Your patterns against their patterns. Your calculations against their calculations. Yes, and they win every time. Corvesh's silence was answer enough. What if, Dacian said slowly, the problem is not that your weapons are too weak. What if the problem is that your weapons are too predictable? The alien officers looked at each other. One started to speak, but Corvesh held up a hand. Explain, the marshal said. The devourers learn patterns. They adapt to technology, but they have never fought humans before. Dacian pointed at the Indomitable schematic. This ship has no AI. Every decision is made by a person. A person who can be unpredictable, illogical, creative. Illogical decisions lose battles, the Tellurian officer said. Sometimes, Jehoon cut in, but sometimes they win them. When we fought wars on Earth, the side that won was not always the strongest. Sometimes it was the most adaptable, the most unpredictable. Our railguns fire metal slugs, Bora added. Simple physics. Mass times velocity. There is no energy signature to track. No frequency to adapt to, just metal moving very fast. Our missiles can be programmed to detonate at random times, said Engineer Sung Ho, who had joined them on the bridge. The devourers cannot predict chaos. They can only react to it. Corvesh stared at the humans. His forearms hung at his sides. You are saying that your primitive technology is actually an advantage? I am saying it is different, Dacian replied. Different enough that the devourers will not know how to respond. At least not immediately. And in battle, immediate response is everything. This is still madness. Maybe. Dacian smiled slightly. But it is our madness, and we are very good at it. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. Bora's hands flew across her console. Contact, she called out. Long-range sensors detect incoming vessels. 300 ships. Tivari signature? How long? Dacian asked, his voice sharp now. 2 hours until they reach weapons range. Corvesh's skin had gone pale gray. They are here. 2 hours. He looked at Dacian. We should retreat. Regroup at the next defensive line. No, Dacian said. He moved to his captain's chair and sat down. This is where we make our stand. You cannot be serious. You're one ship against 300. Marshal Corvesh. Dacian looked at the alien officer. I need you to keep your fleet exactly where it is. Do not engage. Do not support us. Just watch. Watch you die. Watch us fight. See if our way works. If we fail, you can retreat. You lose nothing, Dacian's eyes hardened. But if we succeed, you will learn something valuable. You will learn that there is more than one way to fight a war. The bridge was silent except for the soft sounds of the crew preparing for battle. Bora was checking weapon systems. Sung Ho was routing power to critical systems. Jehoon was reviewing tactical data. Finally, Corvesh nodded. Very well, Captain. We will watch. But I want you to know I think you are brave. Foolish, but brave. He signaled to his officers. Come, let us return to our ships. The humans want to fight alone. As the alien officers left, one of them turned back. Good luck, humans. You will need it. After they were gone, Jehoon looked at Dacian. So 300 devourer ships. One of us? Yes. Those are terrible odds. Yes. Want to know what I think? Dacian smiled. What? I think they should have brought more ships. The bridge crew laughed. It was not much. The conference room aboard the Indomitable was packed. Representatives from every species in the Galactic Fleet had crowded inside, along with several dozen officers participating via hologram from the council chamber back at Luminara Prime. Captain Dacian stood at the head of the table, looking tired but alert. Beside him stood analyst Min Seo, a young intelligence officer who had been studying the Devourers since the war began. On his other side was Dr. Hyunwoo, a specialist in how different species thought and fought. Marshal Corvesh sat closest to Dacian, his forearms resting on the table. He looked at the human captain with something close to reverence. How? The marshal asked simply. How did you do what we could not? Dacian gestured to Mincio. Our analyst can explain it better than I can. Mincio activated a holographic display showing a devourer ship. She looked nervous speaking to so many important people, but her voice was clear and professional. The devourers are adaptive machines, she began, but they adapt to specific things. energy signatures, shield frequencies, weapon patterns, movement algorithms. Everything they have encountered for 18 months has fit into these categories. A Tellurian officer leaned forward. Yes, we know this. They learn and counter every tactic. Not every tactic, Mincio said. Only the tactics they recognize as tactics. You see, the Devourers were built to fight highly advanced civilizations. Whoever created them expected their enemies to use AI-controlled weapons, energy-based defenses, and mathematical precision in combat. She changed the display to show battle recordings from previous Galactic Fleet engagements. Look at these patterns. Every ship moves in formation. Every shot is calculated for maximum efficiency. Every decision is made to optimize resources and outcomes. That is proper military doctrine, said a Krellian admiral. That is how wars are won. Against other civilized species, yes, Dr. Hyunwoo cut in. His voice was gentle but firm. But humans spent 10,000 years fighting other humans. We did not develop proper military doctrine until very recently. For most of our history, war was chaos. Chaos does not win battles, the Krellian admiral insisted. Sometimes it does, Hyunwoo replied, especially when your enemy expects order. The Devourers cannot adapt to randomness because randomness has no pattern. They cannot predict chaos because chaos is unpredictable by definition. Counselor Vrenth spoke up from his hologram. But humans have technology, computers, AI. Why do you not use them in combat? Daishin answered this time. Because we learned not to. In our history, we fought wars where both sides had similar technology. The side that won was not always the one with better weapons. It was the side that could think faster, adapt quicker, and surprise their enemy. He paused. Humans learned to fight humans. And humans are the most unpredictable enemy imaginable. Our kinetic weapons have no energy signature, Minseo continued. The Devourers cannot detect them until impact. Our manual controls mean no computer can be hacked or predicted. Our random detonation timers mean they cannot calculate threat assessment. She looked around the room. Every single aspect of human warfare is designed to fight an enemy who can think and adapt. We built our entire military to be unpredictable. High Chancellor Kixtall appeared in the hologram, his compound eyes reflecting the lights. If this is true, if the Devourers truly cannot counter human tactics, then this changes everything. It does, Ambassador Jiwon said. She had joined the meeting via hologram as well. Which is why humanity is prepared to offer our full assistance. Your full assistance? Kixtall's mandibles clicked. You mean your fleet? We mean more than that, Jiwon replied smoothly. We are prepared to share our military doctrine. Train your forces in human tactics. Retrofit your ships with human weapons and control systems. Essentially, rebuild your entire military using human principles. The room erupted in conversation. Some voices were excited. Others were outraged. You want us to abandon our technology? Demanded a reptilian officer. Our advanced systems? No, Dacian said loudly, cutting through the noise. We want you to supplement them. Keep your shields. Keep your energy weapons. But add armor. Add kinetic weapons. Add manual controls so your ships can be flown without AI assistance. And remove predictability from your tactics, Jaehoon added. He had joined the meeting as well, looking even more exhausted than his captain. Your formations are beautiful, efficient, and completely predictable. We need to teach your officers to think like humans, to be creative, to take risks. This is asking us to fundamentally change how we fight, Korvesh said slowly. How we think about war. Yes, Dacian agreed. It is. But you have been losing for 18 months using your way. Maybe it is time to try something different. Vrenth's hologram flickered as he leaned closer to his camera. What would humanity require in return for this assistance? Full strategic autonomy, G1 answered. Human officers must have authority to implement tactics without council approval. Your crews must follow human training protocols. Your captains must accept that sometimes the illogical choice is the right choice. You want us to give humans command of our military? Kixtall said flatly. We want you to let us teach you a different way to fight, G1 corrected. Once your people understand our methods, command can return to you. But during the training and integration period, yes, human advisors must have authority. The room fell silent. Every species representative looked uncomfortable. Giving authority to humans? the newest members of the galactic community, was not an easy choice. Pride warred with necessity on every face. Finally, Corvesh stood, his forearms spread wide in a gesture of respect. I will volunteer my forces to be trained first. Captain Dacian has proven his methods work. I would be honored to learn from him. Other officers began nodding, slowly at first, then more quickly. They had watched the battle. They had seen one human ship do what their entire fleet could not. Kixtal made a gesture of acceptance. Very well. The Council approves. Humanity will lead the counteroffensive. But there must be oversight. Regular reports to the Council. And if human methods prove ineffective, we will reassess. Understood, Chancellor, Jiwon said. How long? Frenth asked. How long until you can mobilize your full fleet? 2 weeks, Admiral Highrim said. She had been listening silently until now, but her voice commanded attention. We have 600 ships ready to deploy. They are not as large as your dreadnoughts, but they are built for sustained combat. And every captain has been trained in the tactics Captain Dacian demonstrated. 600 ships, Corvesh repeated, wonder in his voice. For a species that joined the galactic community only 20 years ago, you have built an impressive military. We learned early that the galaxy was not always safe, Hiram said. We prepared, just in case. And thank the stars you did, Vrenth said softly. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made. Training schedules were created. Logistics were coordinated. It was decided that Marshal Corvesh's fleet would remain in the Krevix system to be retrained, while the rest of the galactic forces held defensive positions. Human advisors would be dispatched to every major fleet. Shipyards would begin retrofitting alien vessels with human weapons. Engineers would install manual control systems. It would take time, months probably, but for the first time since the war began, there was hope. As the meeting finally ended and representatives filed out, Corvesh approached Daishin. The Krellian marshal looked older somehow, more tired but also more alive. Captain, he said quietly, I owe you an apology. When you arrived, I called your ship a relic. I thought you were fools. You were not wrong, Dacian said with a small smile. We are fools. We just happen to be effective fools. You lost people today. In the battle. Yes, 12 crew members, plus 30 wounded. I'm sorry for your losses. They knew the risks. We all did. Dacian's expression grew serious. Marshal, I need to ask you something. Your people have been fighting for 18 months. You have watched friends die. Entire fleets destroyed. Why did you trust me? Why did you let us try our way? Corvesh was quiet for a moment. Because I am a soldier, Captain. And soldiers know when they are beaten. We needed something different. Anything different, he met Dacian's eyes. But I will be honest. I did not think it would work. I thought I would watch you die, then retreat with my remaining ships. The fact that you succeeded? That was unexpected. Well, Dacian said, unexpected is what humans do best. So I am learning. Corvesh made a gesture of respect. Teach me, Captain. Teach all of us. Show us how to be unpredictable. Over the next few days, the Krevix system became a training ground. Human advisors arrived on ships from every fleet. They walked alien crews through manual control systems. They taught pilots to fly by instinct rather than computer guidance. They explained how to make decisions based on gut feeling instead of calculations. It was not easy. Some alien officers resisted. They could not understand why anyone would choose inefficiency over optimization, but others caught on quickly, especially those who had watched the Battle of Krevix. Lieutenant Bora found herself teaching Tellurian gunners how to aim weapons manually. She stood behind a young Tellurian named Kixta, watching him struggle with the controls. You are thinking too much, Bora said. Do not calculate the trajectory. 6 months had passed since the Battle of Krevix. The war looked different now. The red zones on the galactic map had stopped expanding. Some had even turned blue again. Systems reclaimed from the Devourers. Admiral Dacian stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display. He had been promoted after Krevix, given command of the entire combined fleet. 5,000 ships, human and alien, working together. It was the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Reports coming in from the 7th Fleet, Commander Jaehoon said. He commanded the retrofitted Tellurian dreadnought Resilience now, but he was coordinating with Dacian for the upcoming battle. They engaged a Devourer scout group. 20 enemy ships destroyed. No allied losses. Good, Dacian said. And the Third Fleet? They successfully defended the Voran colonies. Marshal Corvesh sends his regards. He says the manual targeting systems are working perfectly. Dacian allowed himself a small smile. Corvesh had become one of humanity's strongest supporters. The Krellian Marshal had taken to human tactics like he was born for them. His fleet had won 6 straight battles using the hybrid approach, but today would be the real test. Intelligence had finally located the Devourer Central Nexus. It was the hub that coordinated all Devourer forces, the brain of the entire machine network. If they could destroy it, the war would be over. The Nexus was located in the Terminus system, deep in Devourer-controlled space. It would be defended by thousands of ships, maybe tens of thousands. Nobody knew for sure. All fleets report ready, Jehun said. We can jump on your order, Admiral. Dacian looked at the map one more time. 5,000 ships under his command. Humans, Tellurians, Krellians, Vexer, and 40 other species. All trained in the new way of fighting. All ready to end this war. Give the order, he said. All fleets jump together. Space tore open as 5,000 ships entered faster than light travel. They emerged minutes later at the edge of the Terminus system. What they saw made even experienced officers catch their breath. The central nexus was enormous, a construct the size of a small moon covered in weapons and armor. And surrounding it were ships. So many ships. The sensors counted 12,000 Devourer vessels in defensive positions. Well, Jehun said from the Resilience, they certainly did not want visitors. No, they did not, Dacian agreed. He opened a channel to all fleet commanders. This is Admiral Dacian. What you see before you is the end of the war. If we win here, we save the galaxy. If we lose, the Devourers will rebuild and return stronger than ever. He paused, letting that sink in. I will not lie to you. Many of us will die today. But we die knowing we fought for something worth dying for. We fought to save our homes, our families, our future. Another pause. 6 months ago, most of you thought human tactics were primitive, foolish, suicide. Now you know different. You have won battles, saved worlds. You have proven that there is more than one way to fight, more than one way to win. His voice grew stronger. So today we show the Devourers what a truly unpredictable enemy looks like. We show them what happens when 5,000 ships fight without patterns, without algorithms, with only courage and creativity. He looked at the display showing the massed Devourer fleet. All ships attack formation Delta random. Engage at will. And remember, when in doubt, do something crazy. The combined fleet surged forward in no formation at all. Human destroyers mixed with Tellurian dreadnoughts. Krellian cruisers flew alongside Vexer frigates. Each ship moved independently, following no pattern except their captain's instinct. The Devourers opened fire immediately. Energy beams and plasma bolts filled space. But the Allied ships did not fly predictable evasion patterns. They dodged randomly. Some flew straight into the fire, protected by their armor. Others spun and weaved like drunken dancers. Return fire, all weapons, Dacian ordered. 5,000 ships unleashed their weapons. Railguns and missiles, plasma cannons and lasers, nuclear warheads and conventional explosives. High technology and simple kinetics mixed together in a storm of destruction. Devourer ships exploded by the dozens. Their armor could not handle kinetic impacts. Their algorithms could not predict the random attacks. They tried to adapt, but there was nothing to adapt to. Only chaos. Lieutenant Bora coordinated the human gunnery crews across the fleet. She had trained hundreds of alien gunners in the past 6 months. Now they all fought together, calling out targets and sharing information in real time. Cluster formation at Mark 37, she called out. All available railguns, fire on my mark. 200 ships turned their railguns on the Devourer cluster. Bora counted to 3, then shouted, "Fire!" The tungsten slugs arrived simultaneously from multiple angles. The Devourers had no time to react. 30 ships died in seconds. Engineer Sung Ho worked miracles keeping the flagship operational. Damage reports came in constantly. Hull breaches, system failures, overheating weapons. But the crew patched everything manually, just as they had trained. When automated repairs failed, they used welding torches and metal plates. Fleet Marshal Corvesh commanded a battle group on the left flank. His tactical experience, combined with human unpredictability, made him devastatingly effective. He led his ships in a spiraling attack that made no mathematical sense but somehow kept the enemy off balance. "This is Corvesh to all ships," he broadcast. "I am going to try something stupid. Follow me if you dare." He angled his dreadnought directly toward the central nexus, flying through the thickest concentration of enemy ships. Other captains hesitated for only a moment, then followed. It was suicide by any logical standard, but that was the point. The Devourers calculated that no commander would risk such a direct approach. Their defensive formations opened gaps to concentrate fire on more logical attack vectors. Corvesh's ships plunged through those gaps, firing constantly. They took terrible damage. Several ships exploded, others limped away with critical failures. But they reached the inner defensive ring around the nexus itself. "Corvesh," Dacian called. "Fall back. You are too exposed." "Negative, Admiral," the Marshal replied calmly. "I have a clear shot at the nexus. I am taking it." His dreadnought positioned itself less than 1,000 kilometers from the central nexus. This close, he could see the massive structure's details, the weapon ports, the armor sections, the critical power nodes. "All power to forward railgun," Corvesh ordered his crew. "Load the special package." The special package was a human invention, a massive solid core of ultra-dense material, essentially a miniature asteroid shaped into a spike. It weighed 10,000 tons. When fired at near light speed, it would hit with the force of a nuclear weapon. "Firing," Corvesh said quietly. The dreadnought shuddered as its main railgun discharged. The massive projectile crossed the distance in less than a second. It struck the central nexus directly in its core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the nexus began to break apart from the inside. The kinetic impact had punched through every layer of armor, through every defensive system, and cracked the central processing core. Explosions rippled across the surface. Power failures cascaded through the structure. The nexus was dying, but so was Corvesh's ship. Devourer vessels swarmed his position, pouring fire into the dreadnought from all sides. His shields failed. His armor melted. His crew fought to the last moment, returning fire even as their ship came apart around them. "Marshal," Dacian watched helplessly as the dreadnought exploded. No, but Corvesh had succeeded. The central nexus was collapsing, and without its coordination, the Devourer fleet began to falter. Ships stopped moving in perfect synchronization. Their responses became slower, confused. "All ships press the attack," Dacian ordered, his voice rough with emotion. "For Corvesh, for everyone we have lost. End this." The combined fleet fell on the disorganized Devourers like wolves on wounded prey. What had been a desperate battle became a rout. Devourer ships tried to flee but found nowhere to go. Tried to fight but found their coordination gone. When the central nexus finally exploded completely, the remaining Devourer ships simply stopped. Without the nexus to guide them, they were just empty machines. The Allied fleet disabled them one by one. Hours later, the battle was over. The terminus system was secured. The Devourers were defeated, but the victory felt hollow. The combined fleet had lost nearly half its ships. Thousands of crew members were dead, and Marshal Corvesh, who had learned to fight like a human and died like a hero, was gone. Dacian stood alone in his ready room, staring at nothing. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said. Jehoon entered, looking exhausted. His uniform was torn and dirty. "The casualty reports are complete, Admiral. Final count is 2,300 ships destroyed. Crew losses estimated at 40,000 across all species." 40,000, Dacian repeated softly. He thought about Corvesh, about all the people who had followed him into battle. "Too many, but we won, sir. The war is over, is it?" Dacian looked at his commander. "The Devourers are stopped here, but who knows what else is out there? What other threats the galaxy will face? Then we will face them together, humans and aliens. Using everything we have learned," Dacian nodded slowly. "Yes, I suppose we will." A month later, a memorial service was held on Luminara Prime. Representatives from every species honor the fallen,